Hello. How are
Sorry,
you?
I'm not bad. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Is that a picture of you behind you?
That certainly is a picture of me.
How long
So
ago was
it's not
that?
actually a picture of me, it's an actual life-size cardboard cutout of me.
Wow. Wow. Is that a reminder? What does that do for you?
It just reminds me of where I've been and just a slap in the face to say there's no way you're going back. So
Yeah.
that's what that's there for.
Great. Well, I invited you to the podcast because when I was starting my breast reduction experience, I was reaching out and looking for groups, and I found your group on Facebook, and everything you wrote, I felt like there's a woman on the other side of Australia that I have so much shared experience with. And I know we're going to have a lot in common, but we're going to have very different stories as well. I started off as that kid in year 7 who already had big boobs. When did you start?
Okay, so I was a child that didn't have boobs until I got my period.
Yeah.
And I was 17, and I went to bed one night and I woke up with my period. The next night I went to bed and I had massive boobs. So I was very athletic as I was going through through school. So my metabolism was slowed down. So was my developing, unfortunately. Yeah. So I went from having absolutely nothing to waking up having boobs, and I don't think I ever bought a bra smaller than a D cup.
Wow. So what do you mean you woke up with it? So at 17,
I woke up with my period one morning.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't say overnight, but very, very quickly, I went from having a flat chest to having big boobs. And like I said, I don't think I've ever bought a bra smaller than a D cup.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think I have either. But was there any explanation for it? Is it a hormone thing?
It was just the fact that I was very athletic. I was very sporty. I did like cross countries. I was swimming, triathlons. I did everything when I was at school. Yeah. So when you're like that, your metabolism gets slowed down, as do your hormones and things like that. So I was a late developer, but a late developer didn't stop anything for me.
No.
Unfortunately, I had genes that went against me. And once I hit puberty, it was goodbye.
So how long until they stopped growing? Like, where did you get to?
So before I had kids, I got to an F.
Yep.
Before the kids. And then.
And were you still slim and quite active?
Yeah, I was very slim until I had the children.
So you were tits on legs.
So I was literally, I had boobs and I had this tiny little waist. I can kind of show you now. It's still a tiny little waist.
Yeah.
And then it went from there. I had children and I ended up in a double J.
Okay.
While I was pregnant. Yeah. And then when I was breastfeeding my second child, I couldn't leave the house because they couldn't find a bra big enough to fit me.
That was always going to be my worry. You know, I did IVF for about 5 years and I always thought, gosh, if I ever want to try and get these boobs out in public without the whole boob coming out, there was nothing. There really isn't anything, because I was a double H. So I guess was I 1 or 2 sizes smaller than you? So around the same anyway. But so what sort of trouble did you have with that whole breastfeeding world, having big boobs?
Okay, so I only managed to do it for 6 weeks with one of my children, and we were leading into the hottest month of the year, and I felt like a Jersey cow because I didn't have a bra. I couldn't find a bra. Not even a sports bra was big enough to find me. So I had watermelons for boobs.
Yeah.
We ended up with mastitis. She ended up with problems like latching and so on and so forth. People think that when you've got big boobs that it's going to be easy to actually breastfeed, and it's actually quite the opposite.
Yes. Yeah. My
So,
sister-in-law have a theory. The flatter you are, the more milk you seem to produce. We're
yeah.
just finding that as we're, meeting women and friends and family or having babies, it really, big boobs is not an advantage at all.
Oh no, it's actually quite a big disadvantage, both
Yeah.
for you as the mother and for the baby,
Yeah.
because there's that. Like I said, I always thought that I was going to suffocate her because
Oh my
there was this
gosh.
tiny,
Yes.
tiny little head and then these whopping big boobs, and it
Yeah. And you're
was
watching
just.
her nose and all that. Oh my goodness.
All right.
So, how old were you when you finished, like after breastfeeding? Did they go down straight away? And how old were you around that
No,
time?
so we got down to a double H. So
Okay.
that's where I finished. So after I've had all four of my children, I ended up in an 18 double H.
Yep.
And that is where I was right up until I found the program that helped me lose all my weight.
Yeah.
And then I managed to get down to a 14G. I think I was
Okay.
when I finally went in for
Yeah.
my surgery back in December.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that surgery, were there any worries about it? Did you go in excited? I went in very excited.
I was excited. I think I went through every emotion you could think of. It's like, what am I putting myself through? Why am I doing this? How am I going to cope with the kids? How am I going to not do anything? But I woke up and it was like one big weight had automatically been lifted off my shoulders, and I don't think I would change it for the world, even though I had a little bit of a hiccup with my recovery and I've had to have 2 surgeries.
Yeah.
But it has still been the best decision I ever made.
Did they tell you how much weight they took out of each?
In my first surgery, they took 250 grams out of one and 365 out of the other.
That doesn't sound like a lot.
No, it doesn't. No, because I'd lost a lot of the weight out of my boobs had gone.
Yeah.
Because I'd lost 45 kilos. So it was literally roll them up and stuff them in my bra and the skin, and then what was left of inside, it still filled a G cup.
Yes.
So it in total, he took 1.5 kilos.
Yeah.
Out of across the 2 surgeries. So I had more taken during the lipo that I had done 7 weeks ago than what I had in my first surgery.
Yeah. So my doctor took 1 kilo out of my left and 800 grams out of my right and did the lipo on the side here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm still a size 16, so I'm not a tiny girl. So
yeah.
I don't know if you can see that. I'm not a tiny girl. But I just thought I want them gone now. And I'm even finding, back because I see a personal trainer 3 times a week, and there's certain things that I'm like, oh, I can do this now. And it's funny because I can actually walk between the equipment without my boobs going onto everything. And like, it's just a whole new world, and I can see the stepper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like people actually see your face coming before they see the boobs now. And that's always been my biggest thing. Is somebody actually said to me just before I had my surgery, is you're going to lose your identity because you are known by your boobs. And it's like, well, do you know what? My boobs don't define who I am.
No.
Yes, they are massive, but they don't make who I was. No. And what the surgery has done for me and my confidence, like I said, yes, I've lost all my weight. I got to a certain point with confidence and body image, but there was always that thing with my boobs being as big as they were after losing the weight, that I still felt fat.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I still felt fat. And now I'll stand up. So now I actually feel like everything is in proportion and I'm not top heavy.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. And also, there's a lot of fashion where the collar is up to here, or they have those dresses where the line is across here. There's so much fashion we can't wear, and
Yeah.
everything hangs from the boobs, and you can't even see that you've got a waist.
Yeah.
So you still feel really fat. And because they're also next to your arms, they push your arms out as well. So I'm hearing you. But mine did become part of my identity. Not that I didn't want it that way, but in high school, I was known as the girl with the big boobs, and always, with family and friends, always commenting. It was a free for all to comment on my big boobs, and I wish I had those, and oh my God, Lisa, how do you? It's always. They were always a comment, and in the end, I just laughed at it myself. But when it came to this surgery, a lot of people were really, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And there was not 1 inch of doubt. Nothing went through my mind to say not to do it, because I held on to them to have children. I was so afraid, and I thought, if I'm ever going to have children, I'd love to try and breastfeed. So I held on to them. And once that was no longer a go, that we weren't going to be able to have kids, then that's when I started to think about it. And it was only at the start of this year that I went clothes shopping and came home without a dress. And my husband said, "Well, you haven't bought a dress." And I said, there was not one single dress in all of Warrnambool that I could wear that didn't look like a tent. And I just thought,
Yes,
I've had
because
enough.
you had to buy to fit the boobs.
Yeah.
So I'm a competitive ballroom, Latin American ballroom dancer.
Yes.
And I can completely relate there. Totally, obviously, all those dresses are fitted.
Yes.
I used to have to buy a dress to accommodate the boobs and then have it all altered in around everything else.
Yeah.
But then I would also have to have a bra sewn into them.
Yes.
And so back in May, when I sat my last medal exam, it's the first time in my life where I have been able to wear a backless dress. I danced without a bra on, and my boobs didn't move.
It's so liberating. So great.
So somebody said to me, why are you having it done? It's like, my biggest thing is I'm a dancer. Yeah. And there's nothing worse than dancing and these big boobs, and you're walking out, your shoulders are sore because they're bouncing in the bra. And my biggest thing is I wanted to be able to dance at least one of my medals without a bra on, without having to worry about walking out with a really sore back. And even though I was a little bit lopsided back in May, I did it anyway, and it was the best liberating feeling I've ever had in the world, to go, I did it.
Yeah. I tried to do the same with my wedding dress. They bought a size way too big, and when it arrived, it's not like we could order another dress. It came from Spain. We couldn't order another one because, however many months. So every fitting, they had to take it in. And I kept saying, I don't want to wear a bra. I want you to create something inside that I don't have to wear a bra, because it had beautiful lace, and I didn't want the straps to be seen and all that stuff. And no, it's still on my wedding day. That dress was still too big. It was still not right. They had no idea how to fit it, but it was also my dream. I was like, just one day without a bra on my special day. That's all I wanted.
So that is obviously there is my wedding day.
Yeah.
And that photo in particular, I've got a strapless bra on.
Yeah.
But I only did that. I could only wear that for photos.
Oh, really?
And then I had another bra that I had where you couldn't hide the strap. So there are many more photos there where there's the white lacy bits of the bra showing, because I had to go and change, because that was breaking me.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, running around all day with just a strapless on, they just fall down. There was never enough support for what that is.
There was, I think the only reason I got away with it was because my dress was so tight and it was helping hold the bra in place.
Yes, and my dress wasn't tight enough. Swimwear is also another massive issue. So the swimwear that I have happily just donated, put it into one of those donation bins. It was are very expensive because everything you buy for big boobs is very expensive if you want to buy something really well structured. Like, I don't like fat boobs out to the side. I like bras that keep you straight and forward and all that sort of stuff. So I'm very particular, but I had this swimsuit that was so beautiful, and inside was a very strong bra and an underwire and all that stuff. Still not fantastic, but I couldn't put it on by myself. So my husband had to dress me to go swimming, which is just ridiculous. And it's the same with a sports bra. I could never get into a tight sports bra and try and get it over my arms and try and put it over that bra, or try and get a big sports bra and try and move, because I can't do that thing where you do it up at the back. Like, I'm hopeless at that. So there were things that my husband had to dress me for, and I just thought, I've had enough. I've absolutely had enough. How are you with swimwear?
I was the same. Like, they were really expensive. They were buy for the top. Like, I was a big one for a bikini and things like that.
Tankini and a bikini, yeah.
Yeah, and more the tankini, especially when I was bigger. But it was difficult because I've got a tiny little bum and then big boobs, and it was just like, well, I was buying, even once I lost my weight, so I was buying a size 8 to 10 for the bottom, and I was buying a 16 to 18 just for the top.
Yeah. And
it was that, and the underwires, and still felt like there was no support in them, even though you're spending $150, $200 on a bikini top.
Yes.
It was just, what's the point? I don't have anybody else to do anything up for me. No. It was just me. And that's the best thing about these post-surgery garments, is that let's just put it on like a jacket and zip it up. I love it.
Yes, I'm loving my no. It's like, oh my God, I'm leaving the house without a wire. It's amazing. Yeah. It's so good. Well, I'm not into I can't get into regular bras yet, because I'm still, next week is my 6-week post-op, review with my doctor, but I'm, the scarring is still quite fresh and all that sort of thing. But I am hoping that a lot of days that I don't have to wear that wire every day. It's just going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, the best thing was, I think, when I went into the surgeon after the first one, I think it was week 3, he goes, you can stop wearing it at night. I was like, really? I still, it was like the first night I tried it, it's like, I got to put it back on, because it was just odd. Like, you used to getting in bed and your boobs just flopping to one side. And then you got into bed and they didn't move, and I was like, hang on, that's not normal.
Yeah.
Or getting in for that very, very first shower and taking the support bra off for the first time, and you're used to taking it off, and like I said, I'd lost 45 kilos. So they used to flop down and sit on my tummy, and to take it off and them not move, it was just like, it was so foreign.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes lately I've been walking around in just a white singlet with no bra or anything underneath. My hubby, he's like, oh, we've got new toys in the house. He's very excited because, normally he would make fun of me. He's like, oh, one day you'll be able to tuck them into your socks when you go out. Like, we used to make fun about it, because one was nearly at my belly button. It was so low. And then the other one was quite good, actually, but, still too big. So, every time I'd take my bra off, my husband would say to me, oh, it's had a hard day carrying you today. Like, he would just always make fun of me in a beautiful, loving way. But now he's enjoying these perky things, sitting up looking at him.
Yeah. I will never forget when I went in for my my initial consult, and he's like, okay, get him out. All right. Like, you get a bit funny when they say, okay, get him out. But I got him out, and I will never forget the comment that he said to me was, at your age, your boobs shouldn't hang halfway down your forearm.
No.
So you can imagine, this is my shoulder. There's halfway down my forearm. So if I put that down my side, they did hang to my belly button.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's far.
Yeah. So
holy moly, that's National Geographic right there.
Yeah, that will be a statement that I will never, ever, ever forget.
Yeah. Yeah. My goodness. So did you have trouble sleeping with big boobs? Because I certainly did. They were very much up here. Did
Yeah.
you have problems with that? And did you ever do the pillow between the boobs or anything like that?
I think in the end, the only way I could go to sleep was on my belly and push them down out of the way.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I used to make sure that they were flat on the bed and I would lay
Wow.
on them. Yeah.
Wow. And then massage tables are a nightmare.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I'm like, why haven't you guys designed one that's just got a hole there, for all
Yes.
boob sizes? I'm like, oh, that's not a bad idea. I'm like, well, why don't you do it? Yes. So tell me, we're having big boobs, and I've felt during my lifetime, especially when I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, I got judged a lot, especially by other women, quite a lot, especially when I was single. I used to get a lot of unwanted attention for having boobs. So I used to often cover my cleavage so I didn't get that attention from men. But from women, I got a lot of judgment, as in, oh, you've got really big boobs. You must be like, that Pamela Anderson type, or you might be more promiscuous and so on. Did you ever get judged by men or women for having big boobs?
Both. Like I said, my boobs tended to be the focus of everything. Look out, here comes Vicki, but you'll see her boobs before you see her.
Yeah.
And those snarly comments about Pamela Anderson, just all those derogatory things that people don't realise have a long-term effect on somebody. Because let's face it, it wasn't our fault that we had big boobs, it was our genes.
Yeah.
And it was... Having a breast reduction was something that I wanted. So I've told you that I didn't get boobs until I was 17. Now, by 19, all I wanted was a breast reduction.
Oh, wow.
It was the high school bullying from like when I went from not having boobs to having boobs. So then the focus went from one thing to another thing, and the name calling and, oh, look, here comes the boobies or whatever it is. I can't remember some of the names that I got called. They were just girls are nasty. But so are women, and that jealousy of these women that out there that don't have boobs and think that their husbands are always looking at those that do. It was something that I used to hate it.
Yeah.
Because like I said, my boobs don't, well, obviously they did define who I was, but they didn't make me as a person.
No. And I have
just
had
because
situations
I had boobs
like
didn't
that.
mean I was going to go out and sleep with everybody's husbands. That's not the way it works.
You're just bringing back memories for me now. I just remember if you're at the bar and you're ordering a drink and a man says hello to you, you've got this woman giving you the eyes, and it's like, and sometimes those men did deserve it from their wives, because they do. They want to come up and have a look. So, I mean, I remember years ago, I was at a nightclub in Shepparton where I grew up. And Wayne Carey is a footballer. Well, he was a footballer back in the day. He's still on TV and whatever. But he was standing behind me, this great big AFL footballer, and I knew that a lot of the players were there. And then I just felt this person with their head looking straight down my top, really obvious, making a joke of it. And I turned around and I absolutely screamed at him and I said, you're meant to be a role model. And there are men who do think that they are for them. And it's like, it's not for you at all. No, thank you. And this is partly why when I was single, I hid them all the time. And now that I have a husband and a ring on, and when he's with me, I mean, he's not the biggest boob man in the world or anything, but I feel safer. And it's stupid that it's like that. Yeah.
But I remember, like, when I had boobs, it's men, boys. Okay, like I said, I was 17. So I remember many times I would be standing there having a conversation with a man, and I'd have to literally say, my eyes are up here, not down there.
Yeah. So with your group on Facebook, which is really, it's helped me a lot. What inspired you to start that?
I personally didn't start that.
It
was my friends, they started that. And it gave me a safe space to go and share my journey, my personal experience, because they'd just gone and had their breast reductions, and they talked to me about it, and then they created the group because it was something we didn't have in Australia.
Yeah.
And we as a community of the small of us, we just honestly, we just decided that we'd get in there and we'd start sharing our own personal journey to see what we could create. And I watched the founder of the group, she put up a post yesterday, and she just wanted to talk to a few of her friends about that group and the experience that she'd gone through. And it's given so many of us the ability to open up and share what it really is like to be a woman with big boobs and to go through that breast reduction journey together. Like, it's not smooth sailing for everyone. Like I said, I've had a second surgery to try and fix my little mishap. It's not the same for everybody. No. It affects everybody mentally differently. And I don't think there's a lot of people out there that don't understand what it's like to be a woman with big boobs. Like, I'm going to go and have my boobs done. Good on you. Just don't go too big. I said, because you'll get to a point where you will want them gone. Because it's painful. It's that permanent indent that you've got in your shoulders because the bras have torn the muscles, and it's the permanent shoulder pain and the upper back pain and having to go to the chiropractor and have your back cracked where the bra's done up because of the weight that is pulling down on it. It's that group has just been an opportunity to help me find my voice, to be able to come out and share my journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's not something that I would have shared on public Facebook.
Oh, absolutely not.
To have you approach me and ask me to come and share my journey on a podcast, like, you've got me well and truly out of my comfort zone.
I think that's kind of what we have to do, though, no matter what we're going through in our entire lives, there's always going to be other people that we can share this with and say, that I know how you feel. And it just makes you feel you're not alone, you're not unique in this experience, and that there is a community for you no matter what.
Yeah, exactly right. There is. Yeah.
So are we allowed to mention the name of the Facebook group if other women want to apply? Yes, you
most certainly can. Yep.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll be putting, what's it called again?
Breast Reduction Support Group Australia.
Beautiful. And I'll put a link in the show notes as well. When women say they're getting a breast enlargement, I can understand if you're lopsided and all that sort of thing. But people were shocked when I was saying, I'd rather have nothing than what I have right now. And it's just purely from a health perspective. I think having small boobs, there are so many health benefits that go with it compared to having big boobs that people don't see. So every single person said to me, oh, is your back much better? And I'm like, there's so many things that are so much better.
Yeah.
And there will be for life, the sleeping and all that. And even last night I was at Pilates and we had to lie on our front. And I thought, oh my God, I can breathe, because they weren't up here. Where I can't do certain things. So they were out of the way. So there's just so many benefits. But also I think, a lot of people say, oh, I can't afford it and so on. If it is a medical issue, which mine certainly was, and doctors are happy to sign off on that because they know, between that and having a private health, I was only out of pocket maybe $5,000 or $6,000, which is unbelievable compared to how much I've spent on chiros and physios and bras, and you add it all up.
those $150, $180 bras that you had you had to go and buy every 3 months. It's like, my biggest thing was, I think you would have seen me share a story about there was no such thing as sexy lingerie.
No.
I've been in grandma bras since I was a teenager.
I remember crying. I was crying in the changing room with my mum as a teenager because they were so ugly.
Yeah, there was no such thing of having a selection of bras. It's like you'd have to go and get a loan to go and buy just one and wear it all day, every day.
Yep.
You'd allocate a washing day.
Yeah.
So that you would stay home, you'd do the washing, you'd wash the bar, you'd dry
and
the
hand
bar.
Wash. They have to be hand washed.
Exactly right. So they take longer to dry. So it would be literally, okay, I'm going to allocate this day as washing day. I'm not going anywhere. Nobody's allowed to come and visit. It was just like,
oh, wow.
My life was designed around my boobs because there was no having a second bra.
Yeah.
It was
And
just one bra.
that thing about someone knocking on the door and you haven't put your bra on yet in the morning, you're like, you got to cover up because, you don't want to scare them. The future of boobs, I think people need to be not afraid of actually having more reductions. I highly recommend it. I think that, if they can go down that medical route for the reason why, it should be more affordable.
Yeah, so
I don't see any beauty in it anymore either. I see it on other women and I see these crazy big boobs and everything. And I'm like, oh, couldn't be bothered. I'm so over it.
So the one thing to remember when it comes down to more affordable, that if it is deemed a medical reason to have a breast reduction, if you're like me and you don't have hospital cover for private health, you can look at the option of your super. And that is how I have funded both my surgeries.
I don't know anything about that. How do you do that?
You get on and you apply. There are companies out there that do it for you, which is what I did because I don't understand the paperwork side of things. So I just did what they told me I needed to do. And then they went in and they contacted the ATO and they got permission to take my funds from my super, and then they pay it into my bank account, and then that's how I paid for my surgery.
That is a great way to do it. I mean,
but it has to be deemed medical.
Yeah, but it's also investing in your future. Yeah, it's investing in you not having to spend the money that we've just been talking about. So what did you Google to find a company like that?
My surgeon actually suggested it.
Fantastic.
So I use, it's called Supercare. And it will cost you a fee. So they take that out of your super as well. So it costs, I think it was $785 or something that they charged me to do all the logistics.
Yeah.
I just filled in the paperwork. I did the meeting with them on the phone and they took it into their hands. And then I just waited for the money to come into my bank.
Great. What a great way to do it. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially if you don't have that money ready to go. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Like I said, that group has really helped me with finding my voice and being able to share with other women that it's a fact of life. Seriously, they're there to stay, but we've got that option there to go and help us feel more comfortable within ourselves.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you for joining me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.